To you by the Butterfly Palace. Have the best day ever at the Butterfly Palace. Springfield Greene County Park Board reminding you to go play. Roto-Rooter Plumbing and Drain Service. Call Southwest Missouri's best plumber today for a free estimate. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Sarah Foreheads.
And look, it is Ethan and Sarah Foreheads. We're both here. Sarah's back from Africa. Yay. We're excited about that.
It's good to be back. I know. I am excited. And thanks to Diana for all the hard work while I was gone.
She did yeoman's work by hanging out with me for a few minutes every morning.
Yes. Did you have fun?
God bless her. God bless her for that. Yeah, we had a good time.
Fun. Yeah, she's fun personality.
She is fun. So we'll talk about Africa maybe at the end of this, but as we do, we'll begin with news.
All right. After 35 years with no answers, a cold case in Douglas County appears to be solved. Bobby Lee Banks has been indicted in connection with kidnapping and killing Kelly Ann Workman. It happened in June of '89. She was mowing the lawn right outside a church in a cemetery in Douglas County when she vanished. Her body was found about a week later in a river. Two other men, Leonard Banks and Wiley Belt, are also listed in that indictment as acting alongside Banks in Kellyanne's death. She was only 24 years old at the time.
Wow.
I remember, we obviously weren't here yet, but I do remember the story of her cold case. So that was a big deal. And she was very well known. So.
Well, for that amount of time to go by, so much has happened. I mean, she's probably lost family members who never got to find out about this, but
right.
Better late than never, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, hopeful for other families who are still waiting that even after 35 years, the investigators had not given up on it. So,
right. Yeah.
A Springfield police officer was cleared in a federal case that was brought against him after an arrest that he made in 2020. A lawsuit claimed Officer Brandon Helmers used excessive force when arresting Devin Ledbetter, and it left Ledbetter apparently with permanent injuries. A federal judge, though, has found that Officer Helmers acted reasonably given the weapon that Ledbetter had and the nature of the call. The court allowed a motion to dismiss the case under the rules of qualified immunity. Ledbetter is now in a wheelchair, apparently, and is still in prison for unlawful use of a weapon.
Revitalizing Jordan Creek in downtown Springfield is happening. It's on the way. It will cost a lot more, though, than originally thought. Phase 1 will bring light to the creek, literally making it more visible and spruced up. The creek currently flows through an underground box culvert beneath Water Street is what's happening. The so-called daylighting project means returning the creek back to a more natural state above ground. Future phases will include a dog park, pedestrian areas, a place set up for outdoor spaces as well. But it's going to cost, you might want to have a seat. It's going to cost $8 million more than anticipated. Multiple funding sources are going into the project. The city's now hoping for additional grants and more money from a state revolving fund loan of about $7 million.
Yeah. I don't know how you underestimate it by 8 million. That's a lot.
That is a lot. It's way off target. So I don't know also what went into that, what caused it. Inflation obviously is more now than it was. So I don't know. Then there's this down at the border. The crisis there is really, really out of control. It is just an incredible mess for everybody. Missouri Governor Mike Parson is now sending more National Guard troops to help. An additional 200 guardsmen and women and 22 troopers with the Missouri State Highway Patrol are now headed to the U.S.-Mexico border. And 250, we told you about this a week or two ago, 250 of our Guard members are already down there. So this is an additional 200. Governor Parson and other state leaders, state governors from across the country met with Texas leadership recently to get a better idea of how dire the situation is there as people just flow across the border, tens of thousands a day. Parson said in part, quote, the Biden administration's open border policies have made this crisis a Missouri crisis, end quote. And I think that's how a lot, well, now, even mayors of New York City are saying we've got a problem because a tiny fraction of the people coming across illegally are being taken or were being taken to New York City and dropped off there. And even that small amount is a crisis for New York City. So you could imagine what's happening in Texas.
Yeah. Springfield firefighters say there was no fire and no smoke at a call yesterday, but a strange odor was apparently enough to evacuate 307 South Jefferson Avenue early Tuesday morning. One firefighter was taken for an evaluation. Apparently, he is going to be fine. No word what happened there yet, but the crews are investigating and we'll keep you posted if we figure that out. You might have seen the picture circulating on social media because it made a guy look guilty, but police say he is not. A man from Olathe was at the Super Bowl parade near where that fatal shooting took place, and he was apparently handcuffed and sitting on the ground with his hands behind his back. Someone took a picture, posted it on social media. So, of course, people were assuming that he was guilty, but police say that he was not. Denton Loudermill said that he had to hire an attorney and he wants to let everybody know that he is innocent. But apparently there were multiple people arrested right there in the aftermath as they were trying to sort through who was the real criminal. Police say, though, that apparently no one who's believed to be connected to the shooting has actually been released yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you can see how that happens because police are casting a wide net at that point, trying to figure out
as they
who it was.
should be. Honestly, I hope that this guy doesn't. And I mean, on the one hand, like if the world thinks he's guilty, then that's a problem for him. But also, sometimes I feel like police need a little bit more liberty to cast that wide net, even though someone's going to get embarrassed because they're trying not to let anybody get away.
Well, I don't think anybody's. I mean, it doesn't sound like he's blaming the police. Is he suing police?
No, it doesn't sound like it to me yet, but he could. Is the reality? Because it went, viral, so to speak. I don't know if it went viral. I don't know how you define the numbers, but I mean, it's all over the country.
Right. But the issue is somebody taking a picture of him and posting it as if he is a guilty shooter. That's social media is the issue, not necessarily police. Police are doing their best to try to find the people responsible. And something happened to make them think that he was part of the problem. I don't know what that was.
I mean, I think he was just wrong place, wrong time. But
well, I mean, it also doesn't mean your picture should be posted everywhere as if you're guilty of something so horrific. So good for him for coming forward. I think he's doing the right thing by saying, hey, listen, that's a picture of me, but I didn't do it. And police will back me up. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. And they did. So,
yeah. So,
I know, I just feel like the police officers at that point, I hope that they feel like they can cast a wide net and put everybody in cuffs and then go back and figure out what's going on because it's chaotic and there's a million people.
In the moment, you do what you got to do and sort it out later. That's how I see it. If you love ice cream, and who doesn't? Ready? Right? Silver Dollar City has a new flavor at the park created by Highland Dairy. S'mores. That's a good flavor. It will be called, wait for it, Fire in the Hole. For the
Only
new
makes
ride.
Sense.
To commemorate the popular and newly constructed roller coaster, the upgrade to Fire in the Hole. The new ice cream flavor is heading to stores in April. Silver Dollar City guests will get a taste as early as March 9th at Hannah's Ice Cream Parlor right there at SDC. And we've all been to Hannah's Ice Cream Parlor because it's a good stop when you're at Silver Dollar City.
Yes. Archie's Italian Eatery on East Republic Road is closed for good. Several businesses in that same location have met the same fate. The owner, though, says in his case, it is health issues over the last couple years that have made it tough to go on and keep up. But either way, Archie's is now closed.
Yeah, I hate to see any business go out of business, small business, because it's such a hard gig. You put so much work into it, and then when it doesn't work, it's just disappointing for everybody.
Yeah.
But man, it seems like there are some buildings that are like cursed or something.
Yeah.
Because
Although the one that used to be right across from Lambert's, that place changed hands a million times.
Yes.
And I was thinking the other day, actually, that the business that's in there now has been there for quite a while. So,
and when you drive by, you see a lot of cars outside it on weekend evenings for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I was thinking of that building where Archie's is. That's had a number of restaurants that just haven't worked, unfortunately. And then in the Battlefield Mall parking lot where Nukes was there. And then
then the Blues place or whatever.
New Orleans place.
Yeah.
That was there. They're both closed now. That's another building that just seems to struggle. And I don't know what it is about the buildings. I remember buildings in my hometown back in Collinsville, Illinois, on the Illinois side of St. Louis, that were like that too. There were just some buildings where nothing seemed to work. And is it the building? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, they might be leaving, but Crumble Cookies is apparently coming. We've told you this before. It is a fan favorite. And typically you'd have to drive to like Kansas City or something to get Crumble Cookies. But they've been talking about coming to Springfield on North Glenstone. And it hasn't happened yet. But apparently they are hoping to open late spring or early summer. Now, I know we said that they were going to be opening in 2023, but clearly that didn't happen. So they've pushed it back. They say they are still coming and hoping for late spring, early summer. And then they also want to open a second location eventually near the current Target in South Springfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Our kids love Crumble Cookie. I mean, I like it. I think it's okay.
I've not eaten a cookie from there. Remember this discussion, but when I was at Crumble Cookie, I ordered ice cream. Now, who does that? Well, it was like 500 degrees outside, and that's why I did it. And it was fine. But clearly, ice cream was not their specialty. I'll just say that. So I need to go eat a cookie from Crumble Cookie because I have not.
Yeah, the cookies are good. All right, so you're back in town. You're back. Griffin's back. You got in late Tuesday. I let you sleep in yesterday morning. You're welcome. And I did it solo, the podcast. But now you're back, and give us a couple highlights from the 2-week trip to Tanzania.
It was incredible. I think one of my favorite things is the level of joy that these people have when they have absolutely nothing, but they are so like their soul is prospering, and it's just an incredible, pick me up to be around them because they love so much just life, and simplicity. And I don't know, it was amazing.
Well, that's one of the reasons that we Sarah and I feel it's so important to take our kids at a young age to Africa, to other different places. And that was a goal of ours a long time ago. So to be able to do it is a blessing to us. But we just want them to see other cultures, how other people live, so that they have a better gauge on their lives, and they have just a better
grasp of reality for most people around the world.
Yeah, they have a better appreciation of what we have here in Springfield, in this country, and also can tell that it's not the stuff that makes you happy, because it's not the stuff that they have that gives them joy,
right? Because
they don't have a lot of stuff. Yeah. It is other things, spiritual things, and other things that just give them joy. They're content.
Yeah, and I will say this: the way that they help each other, because we on more than one occasion were with like different tour guides of sorts, and there's no competition among tour guides, which sounds crazy to any American because you're working, but you're also competing, against other companies and people. And they're not like, they just help each other. Like, for instance, at one point we got stuck and a tour company came up and like pulled us out of the mud, And then the people on the roads, like there's no road rage. Like traffic is horrific, but they like use their horn appropriately. They move over, they wave people in. Like if they need something, like they stop and they help you. Like the sense of community is unbelievable.
Well, and they're also just on a different schedule in life than we are in America. They're not getting any place fast, and they're okay with that.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And even going through customs, you were doing the story about the southern border. Going through customs in Chicago was also really, really wild, because you can feel bad about America or complain about America, but the number of people this time around in customs was unbelievable. People from other countries, many of whom did not speak the language, and clearly just not from here, like going through customs. And at one point, like I was listening to one of the agents say, one of the ICE agents, do you have any return plans, any return tickets? And they were like all shaking their head. And I was like, wow, like there's a reason why everyone wants to come here. I mean, I'm all for legal immigration, but there is a reason why the world wants to come here.
Well, of course.
And even explaining that to Griffin and just, talking with all different cultures and countries of people. I think it's, yes, a blessing that our children have been able to travel quite a bit overseas.
Well, that's one of the things that drives me crazy about what's happening on the southern border is that when you go through an airport, the customs process is involved. You have to show ID. You have to go through all these things before you're let into the country. Meanwhile, down on the southern border, you just walk across. Anybody can and have been for years now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Griffin was telling me about some of the food that he got to eat, because the boy likes to eat, and they had a whole goat on a skewer, right?
Yeah.
In the fire.
It was a huge goat too.
Yeah. And he said he loved goat. He said the goat was fantastic.
Yeah. And I closed my eyes and ate it too. And I thought it was great, but I did have to close my eyes. Meanwhile, he's like going up and trying to like rip the leg off.
What did it taste like?
I think that I would say duck, but I'm not sure about that.
Duck is a little bit greasy.
It felt a little bit greasy.
It's moist. Okay.
Also on the last night, we had so many cockroaches in our room, like so many. And I was like, I was okay. And then I laid down and I was like, oh, like, are they in the bed with me? Like, I wonder if they're with me. And Griff was like, I think I saw most of them clear out. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
It's because you turn the light on. Turn the light back off. You don't know what's going on.
I did. So listen to my story. So the lights were off, and it had only been dark for like 10 minutes. And then I was like, you know what? I should go to the bathroom one last time, because I have so few hours to sleep that I don't want to have to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. So I just turned my flashlight on my phone and like pointed it down on my little flip-flops.
Oh no.
And there were like so many was like, whoosh, and I was like, they're back, So honestly, he's a champion. That's all I'm going to say. He's a champion.
Okay.
And I already knew that I was a champion. I've been down this road before, but anyway.
Better him than me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the truth.
All right. Well,
but
we're glad
it was incredible. I mean, it was a mission trip, really. So there's so many things I could say, spiritually speaking, but there's kind of a flyover view of just a snapshot, I guess, of what we did.
Okay. Very good. Well, that'll do it for us on this Thursday. We'll be back on Friday and hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
All right. See ya. Have a good one. Thanks for joining us.
It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather, sponsored by Scooters Coffee and Rescue Towing. Here's your host, meteorologist Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everyone. You are listening to Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather. I am meteorologist Abby Dyer, and it's great to be with you on this Thursday morning. We've got some rain, some thunderstorms still around on the radar this morning, especially out in some of our eastern counties. Those will be wrapping up pretty early today. I think we're dry by the lunch hour everywhere as low pressure moves in and a cold front approaches from the northwest. Got to tell you, though, I'm still pretty focused on yesterday. It was so nice in the Ozarks on Wednesday, low to mid 70s, near record high temperatures. And now what we're dealing with, of course, we had the storms overnight. And now we're going to be dealing with some cooler weather that's building into the forecast. Cold front passes through the Ozarks this evening, and it will indeed bring a cool down with it. I think we see partial sunshine, though, later today. Storms for a few this morning, so be cautious of that. Grab the umbrella if you're heading out the door right now. What I'm watching, though, is that rain clearing the area from west to east this morning. We'll be left with dry skies, maybe a little bit damp out there for the first half of the day, but the second half of the day, we'll see the wind pick up out of the northwest and some cooler air being ushered into the region. Highs today will still be pretty pleasant. I'm still expecting us to make it to the low 60s in most communities today. We're going to see the sunshine in part, but overnight tonight, it gets kind of chilly again with low temperatures falling back into the 30s for Friday morning. Slightly cooler on Friday afternoon, too. In fact, mid 50s to near 60 degrees for the high temperatures on Friday. Not a bad day, but definitely cooler than what we were experiencing for the middle of the week when high temperatures were pushing those record highs. Above normal temps will then build in for us again by the weekend, and the early part of next week is looking very warm in the Ozarks again. We are talking about above average conditions February 28th through March 5th. Most of the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio River Valley, all outlined in this big region, big bubble of hot air. Expected to see some nice warmth in the Ozarks and elsewhere across the country as we head into the end of the month of February and the beginning of March. Doesn't it feel like February just started? Not sure how that happened. Then next week, something that I'm going to mention, this is very early, but it's something to keep an eye on next week. A very powerful storm system looks to land somewhere in the Midwest. Could be here in the Ozarks. All I'm going to say at this point is that I think we could have some unsettled weather around again by about Wednesday of next week. So I've got my eye on that. And after the thunderstorms that some of you experienced last night, it's just a good reminder that we're starting to see temperatures warm up. That transition to spring can oftentimes be rather volatile in the weather department. So we are looking for some storms to arrive somewhere in the Midwest next week. Not necessarily for the Ozarks, but it's possible that we're dealing with more strong storms by the time we get to Wednesday of next week. So this is just a super early heads up on that. Today, we're looking at the skies that will clear and high temperatures that will still manage to climb to the low 60s. Overnight, though, I think we fall back close to the freezing point in spots or slightly above. So a cold start on Friday morning, and then we'll be left with that cold and dry air in the forecast for Friday afternoon. The weekend looks fantastic with highs back into the 60s on Saturday. Once again, by Sunday, I think we could be near 70 degrees. So it'll be yet another nice weekend for some outdoor activities. Sunday looks like the warmer of the two. Around the country, what's making headlines, the southwestern United States experiencing really dry and warm conditions again, and with some gusty winds. All of that combines to mean high fire danger in the southwestern portion of the country. We're keeping an eye on that. No wildfires active currently, but that's what we don't want to see. Also, a storm system in Alaska has prompted blizzard warnings this morning across the western and northern Arctic coasts. So winter far from over for our friends up in Alaska. Here it is, the Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather Brain Twister question for the day. Kind of a weird one for you. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. After being widowed, which president married his first wife's niece? I feel like that would make a lot of headlines in today's news outlets. So you know it's got to be an older one. Which one do you think it was? A, Grover Cleveland, B, Benjamin Harrison, C, William McKinley, or D, Dwight D. Eisenhower? Who married his first wife's niece after being widowed? If you guessed B, Benjamin Harrison, you would be correct. Benjamin Harrison was the 23rd president of the United States. And he did indeed marry his niece. After his wife passed away, his niece would come visit them and actually help his wife. And after his wife's death, her name was Mary Dimmock Harrison. She would visit Washington, D.C. after her aunt's death. Her and Benjamin Harrison would correspond quite frequently. They became very close, so close that they decided to marry in 1896. They had one daughter together, and I had never heard of this, but yes, it was Mary Dimmock Harrison, Benjamin Harrison's wife. Fun fact, there was a niece that also served as first lady, but it was not Ben Harrison's wife. This was actually James Buchanan's niece. James Buchanan was a lifelong bachelor, but he appointed his niece, Harriet Lane, to act as First Lady of the United States during his administration. So, fun fact for you. All right, this has been kind of fun to do all of these presidential questions. So I have another one for you. Here it is. This U.S. president is the first and only independent candidate ever elected to office. Do you think it was A, George Washington, B, John Adams, C, Thomas Jefferson, or D, James Madison? You can enter your guess. That's at aroundtheozarks.com. Check out the website for all the information that you need about the weather all day long. And thank you so much to our sponsors, Scooters Coffee and Rescue Towing. I hope everyone has a fantastic Thursday and stays dry this morning. We'll be dealing with some drier weather by tomorrow.